with our bodies and sending our bodies a lot of good energy. May this body be healthy and strong. And then may I live with ease and joy and well-being. And that's just to the present moment. Some of you might be calling in difficult situations, injuries, brokenheartedness, despair, or joy, happiness, however it is for you. It's like, may I live with ease and joy and well-being in the moment, okay? So visualize yourself, offer the phrases, and let's keep the phrases going, okay? That's the power, is when we start to concentrate a little bit. Okay, everybody. And again, I'm live here in Atlanta, East Atlanta, Georgia. And so I always feel like I'm sending this love out to all the neighborhoods. I'm only a few blocks from Dr. King's house, birth house, and Memorial Park, and all, just beautiful energy. We just sending it out, okay? So try to see yourself at any time and age in your visualization. You could be very young. Sometimes I see myself as a small child, sometimes an adult. So trust that you find the image that allows the metta to flow through you, right? Find the way that's easiest. And then we will begin together, everybody, okay? So find yourself in a comfortable position. It helps when you have your spine elevated, right? Sometimes people do lie down during metta practice, but remember, it's a slippery slope whenever you lie down in any meditation that you could go to sleep, right? So take care. You might want to sit in a comfortable way, but be upright. And I always like to begin with just a body scan and to soften the body. We soften the nervous system through our loving awareness. So we're going to borrow some of this Ram Dass energy, beautiful words of his own meditation he would practice doing these body scans. So allow yourself to become aware of your head and your neck. And if you need to move your neck and head around a little bit to soften. And you might take a big inhale and a big exhale and just fully arrive in the moment. Right? We're relaxing our bodies. When we pay attention, a body starts to respond and release clenching, holding, tightness. So maybe you need to move your shoulders around, begin to become aware of your shoulders. And then bringing your awareness into your arms and your hands and really noticing how your hands are placed. Hands are very powerful. Sometimes we make mudras as a way to direct energy, which are hand gestures. So just soften your hands, soften. And bringing your awareness now scanning down into the heart center and maybe taking a breath. Imagine that you're breathing in this loving awareness through the center of the heart. And the heart in the chakra color wheel is green. So you might feel this green represents nature and growth. So just breathing in and out of the heart center. And letting things soften on the exhale. Bringing your awareness into your belly. And this is probably the most powerful place in your body, is under your belly button. It's the hara. This belly place is such a power place. So take some deep breaths and let your belly expand and soften, especially on the exhale. See if you can just settle, bring space into your belly. This is directly connected to the vagus nerve, the nervous system, the pineal gland is affected. So just breathe in loving awareness. and breathe it out. And then feel your body, your sitting bones, your hips. Feel yourself making contact. If you're in a chair, feel the chair or the floor or wherever you're sitting. Allow your spine to lift upright and the solidity of the lower part of the body, the roots. So feel the legs, your knees, and we're just scanning and feeling your calves and your ankles. And then feeling your feet in whatever position. And then from the head to the toes as a unified field, breathing in loving awareness on the inhale. And then on the exhale, and as we begin the practice, I want you to imagine yourself in front of you at any age or time. If you have a favorite photo, or you want to imagine yourself just as if you're looking into a mirror in this very moment. Try to see the being in front of you through the eyes of Kuan Yin, Mother Mary. Seeing your heart, seeing your goodness, your innate goodness. And as you see yourself, while you begin to pick up the phrases, you might say your name over and over as a way to direct the energy, or if you have a nickname or a childhood name or something that calls forth this care, kindness, affection. And so as we begin to offer, may I be happy and peaceful. We send this energy to ourselves, seeing ourselves clearly. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. And so as you practice, continually soften if you notice tension, and keep the phrases going. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. And you might want to touch your heart or your hand if you don't feel that connection. Or you might use the phrases, may you, dear one, be happy and peaceful. As you speaking to your own heart, remembering that we are just generating kindness, friendliness, and care for ourselves. May you be safe and protected. May you be healthy and strong in your body. And may you live with ease and joy and well-being. And so spending a few moments on your own here, keeping each phrase going with as much care as you can, staying as connected. The mind wanders, just gently begin again. At any moment you get lost, just come back and begin with the next phrase. Keeping the phrases going. That is the practice over and over. Stay connected to the image of yourself if you can. Softening the body if tension arises. Take your time. Each phrase is a gift. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. And may I live with ease and joy and well-being. Stay connected to your body, softening the belly, soften the heart. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. May I live with ease and joy and well-being. See yourself through the eyes of Tara, the great mother. Keep softening in your belly. Remembering it's the intention that is the most powerful. Inclining the mind towards self-love, friendliness, kindness with each phrase. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. May I live with ease and joy and well-being. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. May I live with ease and joy and well-being. Other kind words may appear in your mind. Offer everything that is friendly and kind. And keeping the phrases going, holding the vision of yourself. May I be happy and peaceful. May I be safe and protected. May I be healthy and strong in this body. May I live with ease and joy and well-being. A few more moments here. Really offering whatever you can, each phrase as a gift. And then for the last few moments, I would like for us to all expand our metta together. Imagine that this light is going out right through the center of the heart, and we're including all of our family members, loved ones, children, husbands and wives, and grandmothers, grandfathers, neighbors, co-workers. And just as we see all of these people, may we all be happy and peaceful. As we expand to include all of our friends and even beyond the cities we live in, may we all be safe and protected. May we all be healthy and strong in our bodies. And all the beings on this call tonight, all the unseen beings, the angels, the ancestors, the devas. We include all beings. May all beings live with ease and joy and well-being. And as we exhale, we do a special metta for the earth, and imagine seeing the earth from above, this beautiful, radiant blue light. We connect to the spirit of the earth, the mother, Pachamama, Gaia. May you be happy and peaceful. May the earth be safe and protected. May the earth and the entire galaxy, the universe, be healthy and strong. And may all of creation, all that is, live with ease and joy and well-being. So as we bring our practice to a close, we can put our hands together in prayer position at the heart center, offering a bow. We always bow to our practice, however it is, however it was. We give thanks and gratitude and bow. And thank you, everybody. And so, as you begin to shift out of your metta, if you need to move your body, that was a good one. Did you feel the medicine? I could feel my heart being like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr." The power of love, the power of intention. And as we work with the metta, it becomes like, as we know, neuroplasticity. We are creating new neural pathways. And every week, everything you practice deepens that, right? We deepen these pathways. So again, if you need to stretch or anything that you need to do, and for those who feel like turning your camera on so we can see your beautiful faces. I always love that. I know that there are people out there, it's hard when you talk to a screen sometimes and you think, is everyone asleep? I love being in person because I feel the heart energy. It makes me excited about some of my retreats for next year where I'll be in person with you all doing metta practices and in the same room, that feeling grows. But even online, I talk about this quality called it's the resonance effect, right? As we amplify the energy, we amplify it for ourselves and for the whole field around us. So I really want to thank you all for your practice. And just a couple of things I want to mention about the practice of metta. Again, reminding you all that metta is a purification practice. So just as a reminder, sometimes purification practices can be hard, right? When anytime we start, and in Tibetan Buddhism, we do what's called the nundro, which are the 4 great preliminary practices. And their preparation, and you do 100,000 prostrations, right? Bows, or you take refuge 100,000 times. Again, we're using this neuroplasticity, right? The brain is malleable. Whatever mantra you have going all day, it has effects on you. Right? So let the metta replace whatever that other mantra was. And usually we have a lot of negative mantras playing. I can't do it. I'm not enough. This is powerful. And so in the Nundro practice, we do the 100,000 prostrations and we do 100,000 Vajrasattva mantras, which is to purify the speech. And then we do 100,000 offerings, what we call this mandala offering, where we imagine the earth. We're offering this mandala of benevolent energies, right? And then we do 100,000 practices where we imagine we're merging with the mind of the Buddha, right? So it's like we're taking on that consciousness through visualization. So I say this to not discount the power of your visualization. When you're seeing yourself and you're sending love over and over, that's why we keep it. Metta is likened to a river, right? The river of love. We just keep offering like a waterfall, keep offering. May I be happy, may I be peaceful, right? We pick up the practice and we try not to drop it. They say, right? Don't drop your practice, right? We pick it up. So during these 30-minute intensives, that was about 35, good job. You are really putting powerful seeds in the ground, okay, of love for yourself. And when do we ever get time to sit and send love to ourselves. Mostly we sit and we send terrifying energies and problems, and so it's very powerful, and it can have ripples throughout this week, the day, the evenings. And so you can pick this practice up at any point. Okay, it really is heart medicine. And it is purification. So I want to come back to that. I was talking about the 4 great practices that we do in Tibetan Buddhism that are all about why we say things are purification, is that they're creating, they're making the soil ripe, right? Metta also used the image of the garden. Now, our minds are like fertile soil. Whatever you put in grows, right? We know this with children. We know this with the mind, right? You put a bad seed somewhere, or you plant a seed, it will grow, right? So in a lot of ways with metta practices, we're taking out, like imagine you go, and I tell this story, but I'm going to tell it again. I know I told it before, but this is when I was really doing deep metta practice. I was living in East Oakland. This was probably 15 years ago. And I rented this house, and I had 2 of my other fellow Dharma teachers actually move in. We were in training still, and we were teaching retreats, but we got this house, and it had a beautiful downstairs area where we were going to have groups and classes, and it had this garden outside, but it had dry clay packed soil. Like I would go out in there, and the sun would beat down on this area, right? And it was cracked. And when we first went out there was all these blackberry bushes that were literally, if you went in there, you would come, it would they would attack you. So first we had to remove these dangerous blackberry bushes, and then there was these old Coke bottles and Playboy magazines and cigarette butts. So we were like, oh, it was hiding this area. And then I went into the soil, and you could stick a shovel into it, and you couldn't even get into it, right? You would just dong the shovel. It almost it would break the shovel trying to move it. And I kept trying to put plants in there. I would go to Home Depot and be like, oh, look at the bougainvillea. And I would somehow dig a chunk out, and my friends would be like, I don't know, right? And I'd be like, it's going to grow. And of course, it would die within a couple of weeks. Even I went out and prayed over the flowers right? And I finally realized, the soil, if the soil isn't right, the seed of anything can't go in. So metta, imagine that metta is going into the soil of your mind, and it's the fertilizer, right? It's what helps us have loving presence in our lives, right? When we feel love, we feel a superpower energy. Is that not the case? When we feel love, we feel I could run a marathon. It's actually an incredible energetic source. It's like when the sun comes out after it's been raining, everyone runs outside and they're like, right? It's you feel the energy of life moving through you. The energy of hate and anger is life defeating. It's actually anti-life in a way, right? It is that. It's the opposite of what is the universal energy, right? It's contraction, it's limitation. It's the opposite of the sun, right? In some ways, it has this effect. So the metta, when we do metta, and then we're doing our other practices of mindfulness, of meditation, when you're adding this metta in, you are fertilizing the ground of your own consciousness. You're allowing, so the seeds that you then plant in will grow. So in this house in Oakland, even though I wanted instant garden, right? That's what I hoped for. I'll just go transform this in 2 days, right? It was oh no, I had to work on that soil for a long time. I had to go and dig in it and turn it over, and I had to amend it, and I had to put compost in it, and then potassium, and then turn it over and turn it over and turn it over. And I kept adding in organic soil, and pretty soon right? I couldn't get what I wanted overnight. I had to transform it so that the seeds, this beauty, could hold it. Do you understand what I mean by this, everybody? It's a simple concept, right? But we forget how powerful that seed is of love, how that needs, you need the ground. And so in the Tibetan, why I'm linking it to the Tibetan practices, is they said, until you do these great trainings of these 100,000 sets, those intense hours of practice, then we can then put the seed of awakening in you, right? Then the mind is ready for a higher truth, right? It's ready to get out of the samsaric prison that we're in, right? So metta is that. Metta gives you that, and it is a purification. So let's talk about that a little bit deeper, because medicine sometimes does what to you? it pulls out anything that's not of the vibration of love. If you sit down and you say, man, love, man, anybody who's ever said, may I open my heart to all beings? Well, you're going to have to go through some stuff, right? Let the purification begin, because anything that's not resonant with that comes out. Anything that's not in the vibration of that begins to move through us, almost like we start purging energy out. And the more metta you do, you'll notice you'll have to upgrade to keep up with it, right? What are upgrades? Your community, the people suddenly you're around all day. When you do more metta, you pick up on the energy of what's not metta much quicker, right? You're like, wow, that was violent. You know, when I started doing deep training in nonviolent communication and compassion training, immediately my radar could hear other things in a completely different frequency. That it was like, wow, that's so violent. God, how could they speak that way? Right? It was like we have a new sensitivity. So sometimes in this journey, like when I was out in my backyard on hot days, digging in soil, hauling out rocks and stones, right? Trying to get the soil where I could put this garden in, there was a purification. That land wasn't going to give it up too easy. It was like, oh, you're going to have to put some love into this, right? Because for a lot of years it had this dry, compacted, and I was trying to transform it. So even the earth itself responds, right? You put love into something, what do you get? Right? You get something out of it. And so, you know, this is the metaphor for everything with metta practice. When the ground of the mind is open, loving, and receptive, guess what? Your meditation is more powerful. Why? You want to be present. Most of us are running from our mind because like it's a dangerous neighborhood, right? It's like, get me out of here. You know, like we feel attacked by the mind, right? We do everything to escape presence, because presence actually means we confront what's there, right? We see the dirt on the ground, we feel the tightness, but know that that can be transformed, that we are transforming it. And so some of the things that can come up with metta practice is sometimes the purification of sorrow, right? Sometimes I used to do metta when I was younger, and oceans of tears would just pour out, like pour out of my eyes, right? Because it's as if this iceberg is melting, right? All of our walls and defenses that were like, no, I will not be vulnerable. I will not love. No, I have to protect myself. No, it's not safe. No, people are not trustworthy. You know, we brace against life. That when it starts to soften, that can produce a lot of tears. And also, one of the reasons that I focus so much on us as individuals is because there's this epidemic of self-hatred, right? So because we have so much self-hatred, this is probably the worst condition in the Western psyche, right? That self-abuse, that they call it the inner critic, right? And often it's conditioned too. So if you're a person of color, you have not only your own, but then you have societal hate. Or if you are intersex or trans or LGBTQ, right? You even have extra projected, right? So we have our own to deal with, and then we have the societal. It can be very hard not to believe the narrative that is being amplified in your direction about who you are based on your body or who you love, or and we already have to contend with this, right? It's like it's the poison in the well. I always used to say this, the way we attack ourselves, it's not really a condition that I've seen at the level that we have it in the West. It's sort of like, it's just why we're all filled with anxiety. When your mind's attacking you, do you feel peaceful? No. You feel like you're being, it drives us into a state of just deep sorrow as we want to drown out that sound, right? We want to drown out just our own awareness. So what happens is when you start doing this practice, you start seeing yourselves through the eyes of Kuan Yin. And you see, it's almost like you're in a court of law and the person who they thought was guilty was never guilty. And they're like, oh my God, we're so sorry. That's you with yourself, right? You see your goodness, you see your light, and you're like, oh my God, I just spent years. And it can hurt, right? It's like we've convicted ourselves for crimes we never committed, right? And we've attacked ourselves so much. So when that energy switches to seeing our true nature, it has a joy aspect and it then has a bit of sadness with it, and that's just an important stage that we go through. Okay, that's one level of purification. So if you feel sorrow at times, just let that energy move through you. Okay, that's an important piece. You're actually softening. I want to tell this story because I was thinking so much about Baba Ram Dass and his journey. And you can look up Ram Dass. I'm evoking him now because I'm one of the teachers for the Be Here Now network. And I often teach on the legacy retreats, and also Be Here Now network hosts our podcast, Spirit Underground. And guess what? I'm going to be starting a podcast called Heart Medicine. And I'm going to be talking about people all over the world and how their heart practice of love creates resilience, right? And this also, you have to remember, love is the only real resilience. Whatever you're building your house on, if it's built out of fear and hatred, it can never last, right? It can never last. Only love. And it sounds like a cliche, right? It's like, okay, but it's true. And I was thinking so much about Ram Dass's story of when he was a Harvard scientist and teacher, and he got kicked out of Harvard when he started doing LSD. He got caught doing LSD with all the undergrad students he was teaching. And then he ended up going to India and meeting his beloved Guru Maharaji. Now, if anyone has, for me, my life has always been filled with teachers from the East. It's always been the Buddha. And at first I was a Hindu, and I have a library full, if you come to my house, all these biographies of great masters from every tradition, from Christian desert fathers and from Hindu saints and, holy men and yogis in caves. And Maharaji was this great teacher, and Ram Dass ended up moving in with him, and it was a battle for him. He writes a lot of his stories and tells the stories, especially in his book, A Path to Love. And he would talk about being in these rages and going to the guru and being like, I hate everyone here, right? And then hysterically crying for hours. And, as Maharaji would just be like, okay. And all Maharaji taught, and Maharaji is the one that you often see in this blanket. He had really no clothes. Most of it, he appeared only in this blanket, wandering all around India. His students were often chasing him, looking for him. But they would always say, give us wisdom, give us wisdom. And he would say, love, serve, and remember. That is all that the path is. Love, serve, remember. And he was always teaching Ram Dass about love, right? And Ram Dass, it took him years with his guru before, guess what? The mind became fertile enough, right? So many practices, right? He would say, Ram Dass, go feed people right now. Go out to the kitchen. Love the people, feed the people, right? And this was the training in metta, right? So there's a period of training, everybody, that we're entering in right now as a community, right? And I'm always a beginner. Even after years, I just barely started. So we are training every Tuesday night here, right? And making the ground. So after years, Ram Dass was able to come back to the West and wrote Be Here Now, which was one of the most incredible books at the time, still being translated in multiple languages, right? It's a core book for so many people on the path. And his Instagram following just continues to grow by the millions. So his spirit is still here, as many of these great teachers are still here spreading their teachings of love and how to practice it. Okay, so metta is a part of that. So we can go through a lot. That's kind of what I'm sharing. When you're on this path of love, you might go through many tests and many challenges with the purifications of sadness, anger, right? Sometimes you start doing the metta and maybe all this anger comes out in this very, very powerful way, because that is part of the hard, cracked soil breaking up, right? That's what makes a contraction. Love is like this. Love is like, hi. It's an embrace, right? Anger is what? It's always a fist. It's always a violent kind of energy, right? It's the opposite of the open, right? Love is like, I'll live naked on the earth. What happens, happens, right? It's a trust. Metta gives us a faith in love. We start to practice love, and then the miracles and the magic. When you wake up in the morning, and if you had that feeling of love and bliss, guess what? Your day becomes so enchanting. Have you had that experience? And this is why people like plant medicine and psychedelics, is because they're able to click into that experience of that expanded metta state, But the problem is you can't live there. You got to do, just like I could go out and get all these plants when I first moved in, and I put them all in the ground. And for about 24 hours, it looked great. Instant. And then, 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, right. So we can, these plant medicines give us a powerful opening, but then we have to do the work involved in that sustaining, right? We have to keep tilling the soil. They'll show us, but we have to keep tilling it. And that's what Ram Dass learned from his years of psychedelics. And then when he went to the guru said, now you need to practice. Give me all your medicine, right? Give me give me what you taking all the time, right? Just some of just on the side note, there was this funny story where Ram Dass, when he meets his guru in India, and his guru's like, great, love, serve, remember, come join, right? And he asked Ram Dass, who had a big stash of LSD. So this 60s India, right? And he said, oh, give me all he used to call it fake cities, siddha powers. He goes, give me all your medicine. And he was like, okay. So he went and got it and handed it to him. And Neem Karoli Baba, and it was a huge amount, right? It was like some huge amount. And Neem Karoli Baba grabs it and takes the whole thing in his mouth and swallows it. And Ram Dass is like, oh my God. Oh my, like, what do we do? Do we call an aunt? I mean, what? Oh my God. And Neem Karoli Baba proceeded to say, nothing happened. right? Nothing happened. They say at one point he hid under his blanket for a few minutes and then he came back out. He was like, okay, okay. And that was it. He's like, now it's the path of walking it. And this is where we are. So we make effort with our practices. And the last purification that I'll say that comes up in metta is that feeling of numbness, everybody. Okay? It's the feeling of not feeling. It's the feeling of not feeling. And that is a scary feeling, right? It's like when someone dies or something and the person goes, I don't feel anything. And it's their beloved mom, right? There's a part of the mind that could actually like shut off our feelings. And that's a little bit dangerous to stay in that state. We're just frozen, right? We're frozen. But that frozenness can be a state that settles in people, I've noticed. And when I'm working with them, I'm like, wow, I can't feel their heart and they don't feel their heart. And I almost feel like, wow, this feels dangerous because we don't want to stay that way too long, right? Because when you don't feel your heart and you can't feel anyone else's heart, you actually begin to hurt people and you don't even know it. So we have a lot of groups of people operating with a kind of numbness. That's how we can destroy the earth and not feel it. Yeah, we can. If I throw a piece of garbage on the ground, I'm like, Mother Earth, like I feel the dishonor in that, right? It's like, oh my God, like I feel I am that. That's in my altar, So the numbness is also a part of it. So sometimes you might feel frozen and you keep going, right? Like, I don't feel it tonight. Okay, well, that's part of the practice. We just keep going. I want to read you something by the great Thai forest master, Ajahn Chah. He says, do everything with a mind that lets go. Do not expect any praise or reward. If you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. If you let go completely, you will know complete peace and freedom. Your struggles with the world will have come to an end, right? So love helps us let go, right? Because the basis of love is what? Forgiveness, right? So love, actually, when we feel loving, we can let go of a lot of old stuff, right? So you can begin to allow your practice to help you let go of confusion, resentment, fear, right? It's an antidote to fear because when you're in a state of love, fear doesn't exist in that moment, right? Fear can't get a hold in. So the mind of metta is a powerful, resilient antidote, right? So when you feel afraid, I want to invite you to do metta practice. Okay, that can be really powerful. Put your hand on your heart, right? Or touch your hand. When I used to do metta retreats, I used to spontaneously like kiss my hand. Isn't that sweet? And you're not doing this in an ego way, everybody. It's not like, oh, I'm the greatest thing, You're doing it as like, oh, beloved, here you are. You're trying so hard and this life is so difficult. And I love you, right? You're doing it in that spirit of wholeness, wholesomeness. This is not ego grandizement, although the ego might pick up on some things, but know that metta is like kryptonite to the ego. You know how Superman, if you threw kryptonite on him, that was like the one thing that would get. The ego hates love. Okay, just know that, right? Metta can go like, ah. So, and the ego does not like compassion because that's the same, self-compassion, right? So the ego is that dry, cracked part, So we're working with this. And I want to read you something else. And I'm sure some of you guys have heard this, but I really feel like this is our lives right now. We're making choices. A grandfather from the Cherokee Nation was talking with his grandson. A fight is going on inside me, he said to the boy. It is a terrible fight, and it's between two wolves. One wolf is evil and ugly. He is anger, envy, war, greed, self-pity, sorrow, regret, guilt and resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, selfishness, and arrogance. The other wolf is beautiful, holy, good. He is friendly, joyful, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, justice, fairness, empathy, generosity, true compassion, gratitude, and has deep vision. This same fight is going on inside you and inside every other human as well. The grandson paused in deep reflection because of what his grandfather had just said. Then he finally cried out, "Oi, grandfather, which wolf will win?" The elder Cherokee replied, "The one you feed." Right? So the metta is us feeding the heart, right? Where we want the heart to win here above all else. We want the heart to win. So I'm going to pause there and see if anyone has questions or comments here for the last few moments. How's your practice? If you want to share, if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand and we will unmute you. But it's always nice to hear from you, beautiful family. Okay, there we go. iPhone.